There are 5 invisible forces operating in your house right now, and while you sleep, while you eat, while you scroll through your phone pretending everything is fine, they are methodically dismantling the architecture of your future. You cannot see them. You have not named them, but they have named you. They have called you average. They have called you stuck. They have whispered that this version of your life is all you will ever know. And the most dangerous part is not that they exist. The most dangerous part is that you invited them in. You opened the door when you stopped asking questions. You rolled out the welcome mat when you chose comfort over confrontation. You gave them keys to every room when you decided that surviving was the same as living. And now they move through your home like they own it, rearranging your priorities, dimming your vision, convincing you that the life you are living is the life you were meant to live. But it is not. This flat, narrow, predictable existence you have accepted as normal is not your design. It is your distraction. And until you identify what has been stealing from you, you will keep waking up confused about why your life feels like a rehearsal that never becomes a performance. The first thief is distraction. It does not announce itself. It does not break down your door wearing a mask. It arrives dressed as opportunity. It shows up as notifications, as invitations, as good ideas that are not your idea. Distraction is not always bad things. Most of the time it is decent things, average things, things that make sense to everyone else but were never assigned to you. And this is why distraction is so lethal. You can spend your entire life doing things that matter and still die without ever doing what you were made for. You can be busy and still be lost. You can be productive and still be powerless, because motion without direction is just noise. It is chaos dressed up as progress. And the soul knows the difference. Somewhere deep inside you, beneath all the explanations you have crafted to justify your schedule, there is a knowing, a quiet grief, a persistent whisper that says you were built for something more specific than this. You were not designed to be everything to everyone. You were designed to be something exact to someone specific. And every moment you spend trying to be useful in a general way, you lose precision, you lose edge. You lose the sharpness that only comes when your life is aligned with its original intent. The manufacturer does not build a key to open every door. The manufacturer builds a key to open one door. And if that key tries to fit into locks it was never shaped for, it will bend. It will wear down. It will eventually break. And everyone will say the key was weak. But the key was not weak. The key was just in the wrong fight. The second thief is comparison. And it lives in your pocket. It sleeps next to your bed. It sits with you at breakfast. Every time you open a screen, comparison is waiting to show you a version of life that makes yours feel small. It shows you someone else's harvest and hides their planting season. It shows you someone else's spotlight and erases their years in the dark. It convinces you that you are behind, that you are too late, that the gap between where you are and where they are is proof that you missed your moment. But you cannot miss what was never meant for you. You cannot be late to a season that has your name on it. Comparison is not just toxic because it makes you jealous. Comparison is toxic because it makes you copy. It turns you into a shadow. It trains you to live someone else's assignment while your own sits untouched, waiting, wondering why you abandoned it. When you compare, you do not just lose confidence, you lose direction. Because the moment you start measuring your progress by someone else's timeline, you stop walking your path. You step off the road that was custom built for your feet and you try to squeeze into shoes that were never your size. And the tragic part is that the person you are comparing yourself to might be just as lost as you are. They might be running from the same voices. They might be hiding the same wounds. But you see their performance and you assume it is their purpose. You see their activity and you call it their assignment. And in doing so, you abandon your own. The third thief is permission. It is the belief that you need someone else to authorize your existence. That you need validation before you move. That you need applause before you act. That you need a crowd to confirm what the Creator already whispered. Permission is the thief that keeps you waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the right connection. Waiting for someone to see you, choose you, announce you. And while you wait, your gifts gather dust. Your ideas grow old. Your courage shrinks. Because permission is a drug. The more you seek it, the more you need it. And eventually, you cannot take a single step without checking to see if someone is watching. You cannot make a decision without polling the room. You cannot trust your own voice because you have trained yourself to believe that other voices matter more. But here's what you must understand. The people whose permission you are waiting for permission themselves. They are locked in the same prison. They are asking the same questions. They are afraid of the same rejection. And if you wait for broken people to fix you, you will wait forever. If you wait for confused people to give you clarity, you will stay confused. If you wait for approval from those who have not approved themselves, you will live and die without ever starting. You do not need permission to become who you already are. You do not need a ceremony to activate what is already inside you. You do not need a stage to begin your assignment. You need obedience. You need movement. You need the courage to start before you are ready, to build before it makes sense, to trust the blueprint that was placed in you before you were born. And the moment you stop asking for permission, the moment you stop performing for validation, the moment you step into your assignment with or without the applause, everything shifts, because you were never meant to be voted in. You were meant to be called out. The fourth thief is noise, and it is everywhere. It is the voices that drown out the whisper. It is the opinions that cancel out the instruction. It is the constant flood of information, advice, commentary, correction, and prediction that keeps you from hearing the one voice that actually matters. Noise is not always loud. Sometimes noise is subtle. It is the friend who means well but speaks from fear. It is the family member who loves you but does not understand you. It is the culture that celebrates movement but punishes stillness. Noise convinces you that silence is loneliness, that quiet is emptiness, that if you are not constantly connected, constantly stimulated, constantly consuming content, you are missing out. But here is the truth. You do not find yourself in the noise. You lose yourself in the noise. You do not discover direction by listening to everyone. You discover direction by tuning everyone out. Every lion must go into isolation before it learns to roar. Every seed must be buried in silence before it breaks into the light. Every blade must be hammered in the fire, alone, unseen, unheard, before it becomes sharp enough to cut. And if you refuse the silence, if you run from the stillness, if you fill every gap with distraction, you will never hear the voice that is trying to give you instruction. You will spend your whole life repeating what others have said instead of discovering what you were sent to say. Silence is not punishment. Silence is preparation. It is not isolation. It is incubation. It is the place where identity is formed, where vision is clarified, where strength is forged in secret so it can be revealed in public. And if you are in a season where no one is calling, where no one is clapping, where the room is quiet and the phone is silent, do not panic. You are not forgotten. You are being refined. You are not rejected. You are being prepared. The silence is not proof that you were abandoned. The silence is proof that something is being built in you that cannot be rushed, cannot be faked, cannot be microwaved. The fifth thief is counterfeit purpose. And this is the most dangerous one, because counterfeit purpose does not look evil. It looks good. It looks meaningful. It looks like contribution. Counterfeit purpose is doing good things that are not your thing. It is serving in rooms you were not assigned to. It is carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. It is saying yes when your spirit is screaming no, because you are afraid that if you stop being useful, you will stop being loved. Counterfeit purpose is the trap of being needed, of being the go-to person, of being the one who always helps, always shows up, always sacrifices, and everyone celebrates you for it. But inside, you are dying. Inside, you are exhausted. Inside, you know something is wrong, but you cannot name it, because how do you tell people that the very thing they praise you for is the thing that is killing you? Here is how you know it is counterfeit. Counterfeit purpose drains you. Real purpose fuels you. Counterfeit purpose needs constant affirmation. Real purpose needs only obedience. Counterfeit purpose makes you a slave to people's expectations. Real purpose makes you a servant to your assignment. Counterfeit purpose feels like duty. Real purpose feels like destiny. And if you are operating in counterfeit purpose, you will work hard, you will be celebrated, you will be visible, but you will not be fulfilled. Because fulfillment does not come from doing what people need you to do. Fulfillment comes from doing what you were created to do. And those two things are not always the same. Before I continue, answer one question honestly. If you removed everything you do for approval, everything you do out of obligation, everything you do because it is expected, what would be left? If you stripped away the roles you play, the titles you carry, the versions of yourself you present to keep people comfortable, who would you be? If this message spoke to your heart, if something in you stirred just now, if a part of you that has been asleep for years just woke up, then stay with me. Because if you are still listening, something inside you is waking up, and that something is about to change everything. You cannot build a future on borrowed vision. You cannot walk into destiny wearing someone else's shoes. You cannot fulfill your assignment by copying someone else's strategy. Because your life is not a template. It is not a formula. It is not a system you download and repeat. Your life is a manuscript. It is an unrepeatable sentence in a story that only you can write. And if you spend your days trying to sound like someone else, trying to move like someone else, trying to succeed using someone else's blueprint, you will build something impressive that your soul does not recognize. You will arrive somewhere important that does not feel like home. You will achieve goals that do not satisfy you because they were never yours. Every lion cub looks weak at first, clumsy, unsure, dependent. And if you judge that cub in its early days, you would think it had no future. But inside that cub is a roar that has not developed yet. Inside that cub is a strength that has not been activated yet. Inside that cub is an identity that is waiting for the right moment to emerge. And the cub does not become a lion by comparing itself to other cubs. The cub becomes a lion by growing into what it already is, by trusting the process, by enduring the awkward stage, by surviving the season where no one takes it seriously. And one day, without warning, the roar comes. And everyone who doubted suddenly understands. This was never a weak cub. This was a lion in development. You are not behind. You are in development. The fact that your gift has not been seen yet does not mean your gift does not exist. The fact that your moment has not come yet does not mean your moment will not come. The fact that people have overlooked you, underestimated you, dismissed you does not mean you were built wrong. It means you were built different. And different always looks strange before it looks strong. Different always feels lonely before it feels powerful. Different always gets rejected by the crowd before it gets celebrated by the culture. But the rejection is part of the process. The isolation is part of the incubation. The waiting is not wasted time. The waiting is where the roots go deep enough to support the weight of what is coming. There is a craftsman in a small village who spends months sharpening a single blade. People walk by his workshop and laugh. They say he is too slow. They say he is inefficient. They say he will never make money working at that pace. But the craftsman does not argue. He does not explain. He does not defend his process. He just keeps sharpening. And when the blade is finally finished, when it is tested, when it is swung, it cuts through everything. It does not bend. It does not break. It does not need to be sharpened again for years. And suddenly everyone understands. The time was not wasted. The slowness was not weakness. The process was precision. And the blade that took months to create will last a lifetime. You are that blade. And this season you are in, this frustrating, invisible, misunderstood season is the sharpening. It is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not rejection. It is refinement. And if you rush the process, if you try to skip the sharpening, if you try to go public before you have been perfected in private, you will break under pressure. You will bend under weight. You will dull under use. But if you trust the process, if you endure the fire, if you let the craftsman do his work, you will emerge sharp. You will emerge strong. You will emerge unbreakable. You grow in silence. You heal in silence. You rise in silence. The world celebrates noise, but God works in quiet. The world celebrates speed, but God works in seasons. The world celebrates visibility, but God works in the valley. And if you are in the valley right now, if you are in the dark, if you are in the place where no one sees you and no one hears you and no one is cheering for you, do not despair. You are exactly where you need to be. Because the valley is not a detour. The valley is the path. The valley is where character is built. The valley is where faith is tested. The valley is where you learn to trust the voice that only speaks in whispers. There is a seed that gets planted in the ground, and for weeks, nothing happens. On the surface, there is no evidence of life. No sign of growth. No proof that anything is working. And if you dug up that seed in frustration, you would find it splitting, cracking, breaking apart in the soil, and you would think it was dying. But it is not dying. It is germinating. It is doing the invisible work that must happen before anything visible can emerge. The roots are forming. The structure is being built. The foundation is being laid. And if the seed could talk, it would not complain about the darkness. It would not resent the pressure. It would not beg to be pulled out early. Because the seed understands what you are still learning. That everything powerful is built in secret. That everything strong starts in silence. That the breaking is not the end. The breaking is the beginning. You are not falling apart. You are falling into place. The confusion you feel is not proof that you are lost. The confusion is proof that you are transitioning. You are moving from one season into another, from one version of yourself into the next. And transition is always uncomfortable. Transition is always awkward. Transition is always misunderstood because you are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. You are in between. And in between is the most important place you will ever be, because in between is where transformation happens. In between is where the old dies and the new is born. In between is where you stop performing and start becoming. The enemy of great is not bad. The enemy of great is good. because bad is easy to reject. Bad is obvious. Bad does not confuse you, but good is tricky. Good looks right. Good feels safe. Good gets applause. And you can spend your entire life doing good things, respectable things, acceptable things, and never do the one thing you were created to do. Because the one thing you were created to do does not make sense to everyone else. It does not fit the mold. It does not follow the script. It requires you to say no to opportunities that other people would kill for. It requires you to walk away from rooms that are comfortable to step into rooms that are costly. It requires you to release what is working to reach for what is waiting. And this is where most people stop. This is where most people settle. Because releasing what is good to pursue what is great requires a level of faith that most people do not have. It requires you to trust a voice that no one else can hear. It requires you to follow a map that no one else can see. It requires you to be misunderstood, questioned, criticized, doubted. And most people are not willing to pay that price. Most people would rather be celebrated for being good than criticized for pursuing great. But you are not most people. If you were, you would not still be here. If you were, this message would not be stirring something in you. If you were, you would have clicked away by now. But you did not, because something in you knows. Something in you remembers. Something in you is waking up to the truth that you were not made for average. You were not made for safe. You were not made to fit in. You were made to stand out. You were made to disrupt. You were made to build something that did not exist before you arrived. Direction is not about moving faster. Direction is about moving right. You can run at full speed in the wrong direction and still end up lost. You can be busy, productive, celebrated, and still be completely off course. Because activity is not the same as alignment. Effort is not the same as effectiveness. And if you do not know where you are going, every road will take you there. Every opportunity will look like the opportunity. Every open door will feel like your door. And you will spend your life walking through doors that were never meant for you, wondering why nothing feels right, why nothing feels fulfilling, why nothing feels like home. But when you know your direction, everything changes. When you know your assignment, you stop auditioning. When you know your purpose, you stop proving. You do not need to chase. You do not need to convince. You do not need to compete. You just need to build. You just need to obey. You just need to trust that the same voice that called you is the same voice that will guide you, provide for you, protect you, promote you. And when the right door opens, you will not have to force it. When the right people come, you will not have to manipulate it. When the right moment arrives, you will not have to manufacture it. It will happen naturally, effortlessly, undeniably, because when you are aligned with your purpose, the universe conspires to make room for you. You were not born to be a copy. You were born to be a prototype. You were not born to follow. You were born to lead, not because you are better than anyone else, but because you carry something no one else carries. You see something no one else sees. You hear something no one else hears. And if you do not honor that, if you do not protect that, if you do not build that, it will die with you. And the world will never know what it lost. The world will never know what could have been built, what could have been healed, what could have been changed. Because you chose comfort over calling. Because you chose safety over sacrifice. Because you chose to fit in instead of standing out. But it is not too late. It does not matter how old you are. It does not matter how much time you think you wasted. It does not matter how many wrong turns you took. It does not matter how many people told you it was over. Because your assignment is not tied to your age. Your assignment is tied to your obedience. And the moment you say yes, the moment you step into alignment, the moment you stop running from your calling and start running toward it, everything accelerates. Doors that were closed for years suddenly open. Relationships that were stuck suddenly shift. Resources that were missing suddenly appear. Because when you move, heaven moves. When you obey, provision follows. When you step into your lane, everything that was assigned to your lane shows up. The 5 thieves have been in your house long enough. Distraction has stolen your focus. Comparison has stolen your confidence. Permission has stolen your power. Noise has stolen your clarity. Counterfeit purpose has stolen your fulfillment. But today, right now, in this moment, you take back what was stolen. You reclaim your direction. You reclaim your identity. You reclaim your assignment. You stop waiting for permission and you start walking in purpose. You stop seeking approval and you start obeying instruction. You stop performing for the crowd and you start building for the kingdom. And here is what will happen. People will not understand. People will question you. People will tell you that you changed, and you will smile because you did change. You woke up. You broke free. You stopped living for their applause. and started living for your assignment. And the people who are supposed to go with you will recognize the shift. They will celebrate the awakening. They will support the transformation. And the people who do not, the people who resist, the people who try to pull you back into who you used to be, they will reveal themselves. And you will love them, but you will not follow them. You will honor them, but you will not obey them. Because your future is too important to be held hostage by people who are stuck in your past. This is your moment. This is your season. This is the turning point. And you will look back on this day and realize that this was the day everything changed. Not because circumstances changed, not because people changed, but because you changed. You stopped waiting. You stopped hiding. You stopped shrinking. You stepped into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. And the world will never be the same. Because when you walk in purpose, you do not just change your life. You change every life connected to your life. You do not just fulfill your destiny. You unlock the destiny of everyone in your orbit. If this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more messages that grow your soul, subscribe, because your journey has just begun.